Hello, and welcome to another episode of Readings in Impact Investing, the show that features important readings in the world of impact investing, sustainable finance, development finance, and ESG through the medium of audio. This podcast is a non-profit initiative made available as a public good, and its ongoing operation is supported by community donations. Find the podcast online at readingsinimpact.org or on your favourite podcast platform. Now here's your host, Daniel Rosehill.
Hello friends, colleagues and subscribers, a very warm welcome back to another episode of Readings in Impact Investing. My name's Daniel Rosehill and this is a new podcast where I take written material, often reports, sometimes also web pages in the field of impact investing, development finance, sustainable finance, climate finance. I could go on. Essentially all the ways that we are trying to take finance, the flow of money in the world, and use it for good to make the world a better place and solve our manifold social and environmental challenges. How is that for definition? Maybe I should use that in a future podcast episode or something. Today, I'm going to be reading a blog by Greenomy. Who is Greenomy, I hear you asking? So Greenomy is a platform that is supposed to make it easy to comply with all this alphabet soup of EU regulations in the field of sustainable finance, because it gets confusing and companies want a dashboard. Everyone who doesn't want a dashboard, dashboards are wonderful. And Greenomy makes a very cool dashboard. You can book a demo, you can have a call with them. Their website is Greenomy. That's green as in the color green with OMY at the end, .io. And if you are a European company facing the sustainable finance regulations and want to be able to assess your compliance with the taxonomy at a glance, then definitely check out their website. Not only does it have interesting material about their product, it also has good material. They have a whole learning section with an academy. I'm just clicking around here, ebooks, as well as the blog. So you can get cool information. They have a CSRD reporting training course. So you can become a real geek on the EU regulations by spending enough time on this domain name. Oh, they also have a bunch of ebooks. So this is all very exciting. And this might be the first of several readings, in fact. So let us go now, however, focus on today's initiative, which is making a reading. God, I'm losing my English here. Which is reading this blog post by Adriana Casado Barral. That was my attempt at pronouncing a Spanish name after my recent trip to Spain, which was wonderful. And she has a blog post called Understanding the Relationship Between CSRD, EU Taxonomy and the SFDR, a Comprehensive Guide. And I'm going to read it. Okay, let's go. The CSRD, EU Taxonomy and SFDR are a trio of regulations that are transforming the way sustainable finance is done. They work together to create a coherent and efficient framework that empowers stakeholders to make more informed and responsible choices and move towards a more transparent and accountable corporate environment. The EU Taxonomy serves as the foundation for sustainable activities, with CSRD and SFDR building on this through aligned disclosure requirements. Sustainable finance and ESG reporting in the EU. Sustainable finance is pivotal in steering the EU towards its climate and environmental objectives by channeling investments into eco-friendly projects and initiatives. Complementary to this, sustainability reporting is crucial for enhancing transparency in the areas of environmental, social, economic, and governance factors. Such reporting helps organizations to identify risks and opportunities linked to sustainability, enabling them to build a resilient and future-proof business model. It also allows for meaningful engagement with stakeholders, fortifying trust through a clear commitment to sustainable conduct. From the EU's perspective, this dual approach not only empowers investors with the information needed for conscientious decision-making, but also establishes accountability measures for corporations, thereby discouraging greenwashing. Overall, sustainable finance and reporting serve as key instruments in the EU for promoting responsible business practices, incentivizing sustainability, and fostering innovative solutions to environmental challenges. They achieve this by ensuring transparency through reliable and comparable ESG data, providing a common language for stakeholders to make informed decisions. The EU Sustainable Finance Framework includes the EU Taxonomy, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive (CSRD), and the Sustainability Finance Disclosure Regulation, called SFDR. These three regulations are closely interrelated and work together to support directing investments towards taxonomy-aligned activities by enabling investors to identify these activities. And in this article, we'll dive deeper into each of these frameworks and their relationships. What is SFDR? The Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, SFDR, is a European Union regulation designed to elevate transparency in the realm of sustainable investments. Specifically, it mandates that financial market participants, FMPs, and financial advisors, FAs, disclose information pertinent to environmental, social, and governance activities. These disclosures are required at both the entity level and the product level. As of January 2023, stakeholders are additionally obliged to adhere to the SFDR Regulatory Technical Standards, RTS, which offer more detailed guidelines for compliance. The primary purpose of the SFDR is twofold. Firstly, it seeks to channel capital into more sustainable investment avenues by providing investors with transparent and standardized information. Secondly, it aims to curb greenwashing, misrepresenting products as more sustainable than they actually are, thereby ensuring that investors are not misled by false or exaggerated claims. In the context of SFDR, FAs are organizations or entities that offer advice on investment or insurance-based investment products. This category includes entities operating within the EU, as well as those based outside the EU that market or intend to market their products to EU clientele. On the other hand, FMPs are organizations or entities that manufacture and sell financial products or offer asset management services. Like FAs, FMPs can be either EU-based or situated outside the EU, as long as they market or plan to market their offerings to clients within the EU. Key provisions and requirements of the SFDR. The SFDR outlines specific obligations for FAs and FMPs to enhance transparency in sustainable investing. Here are the key provisions and requirements. Classifications of funds. SFDR categorizes investment funds into three types based on their focus on environmental objectives. Dark green funds, Article 9. These funds have sustainable investment as their primary objective. Light green funds, Article 8. These funds promote environmental and social characteristics, but may not have sustainability as their central goal. And grey funds, so-called Article 6 funds, these funds neither prioritize nor promote environmental or social characteristics. What is CSRD? The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, is the European Union's most recent legislative framework mandated to oversee sustainability reporting and officially supplanting its predecessor, the Non-Financial Reporting Directive, NFRD, on January 5th of 2023. CSRD has been designed to both reinforce and expand upon the existing regulations, aiming to bring more coherence and uniformity to the manner in which companies disclose their ESG impacts. This extends not only to the activities of the companies themselves, but also implicates their entire value chains. The main objectives of the CSRD are, firstly, standardization, standardizing ESG disclosures, thereby reducing inconsistency and information gaps to make it easier for stakeholders, including investors and regulators, to evaluate and compare the sustainability performance of different companies. Transparency. By mandating comprehensive disclosures, the CSRD aims to increase transparency around corporate ESG activities, thereby enabling better informed decision-making for investors, consumers, and other stakeholders. Alignment with other regulations. CSRD is not an isolated piece of legislation. It aligns closely with other EU legislative initiatives, such as the EU Taxonomy and the SFDR, creating a more streamlined and efficient framework for ESG reporting. The role of ESRS in CSRD reporting. The CSRD also introduced a noteworthy component, the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, ESRS. The ESRS aims to provide specific guidelines and standards for ESG reporting under the CSRD, ensuring a common methodology and comparability across companies and sectors. In this way, the ESRS serves as the operational backbone of the CSRD, facilitating its broader objectives of standardization and transparency. The relationship between NFRD and CSRD. The CSRD represents a significant departure from its predecessor, the NFRD, aiming to enhance transparency and accountability in sustainability reporting. It extends coverage from 17,700 companies under NFRD to around 50,000 in the EU, starting phased implementation in January 2024. Two key innovations are the double materiality perspective and the introduction of the European Sustainability Reporting Standards ESRS. Double materiality requires companies to disclose how environmental and social factors impact their business and how their operations affect society and the environment, leading to a more comprehensive assessment of sustainability. On the other hand, the ESRS, with detailed and obligatory criteria, bolster data reliability, transparency, and comparability. In summary, the CSRD sets higher standards for comprehensive, verifiable, and accessible ESG reporting, improving corporate accountability for social and environmental impacts. The CSRD complements the SFDR. The CSRD and the SFDR are two complementary regulations that aim to improve transparency and accountability in ESG matters. The CSRD requires large companies to report on their sustainability performance against the EU Taxonomy, while the SFDR requires financial market participants to disclose how their products align with the EU Taxonomy. The CSRD is relevant to the SFDR because it provides part of the information to be disclosed for the SFDR report. In particular, the CSRD requires companies to disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, and waste production. This information can be used by financial market participants to assess the ESG risks and opportunities of a company's investment. The CSRD and SFDR together form a synergistic framework to promote sustainable finance. By requiring companies to disclose their ESG performance and financial market participants to disclose how their products align with ESG factors, these regulations help to ensure that investors have the information they need to make informed decisions. EU Taxonomy, definition and significance. The EU Taxonomy acts as a pivotal classification system for demarcating environmentally sustainable economic activities. By setting robust assessment criteria, it standardizes the concept of sustainability across diverse sectors and industries, creating a universally understood language for what qualifies as sustainable. This framework facilitates multiple objectives. It guides companies and financial institutions in making informed green investment decisions while providing insights into associated financial risks, enables comparative analysis based on quantifiable sustainability metrics, integrates ESG factors into broader business strategies, and helps organizations set, achieve, and communicate clear, measurable sustainability goals. In doing so, it not only fosters informed decision-making, but also serves as a countermeasure against greenwashing, where companies falsely claim to be more eco-friendly than they are. Overall, the EU Taxonomy serves as a foundational framework for elevating environmental sustainability as a core consideration in economic activities. The relationship between SFDR, CSRD, and the EU Taxonomy. The EU Sustainable Finance Framework includes the EU Taxonomy, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, the SFDR. These three regulations are closely interrelated and work together to support directing investments towards taxonomy-aligned activities by enabling investors to identify these activities. The EU Taxonomy provides a classification system for sustainable economic activities that is applied within the CSRD and SFDR. The CSRD is relevant for the SFDR as it provides part of the information to be disclosed for the SFDR report. Companies affected by the SFDR in turn need the EU Taxonomy metrics from the CSRD report of their investment objects to fulfill their reporting obligations. How adherence to SFDR and CSRD aligns with EU Taxonomy requirements. Adherence to SFDR and CSRD aligns with EU Taxonomy requirements as the EU Taxonomy provides a classification system for sustainable economic activities that is applied within the CSRD and SFDR. The CSRD ties into Article 8 of the EU Taxonomy regulation by requiring companies to report various key performance indicators that are aligned with the EU Taxonomy. The publication of the EU Taxonomy metrics is part of the reporting obligation of companies covered by the CSRD, and companies affected by the SFDR need the EU Taxonomy metrics from their CSRD report. Therefore, the three regulations are closely interrelated and overlap in terms of content, and they are tools to support directing investments towards taxonomy-aligned activities by enabling investors to identify these. Implications for financial institutions and corporations. SFDR, CSRD, and EU Taxonomy have significant impacts on reporting and disclosure for businesses. Potential challenges for companies in compliance. Compliance with these regulations can be challenging for companies as they may need to collect and report new data, and the reporting requirements may be complex and time-consuming. Companies may also face increased pressure from investors to publish sufficient sustainability information in accordance with CSRD and the EU Taxonomy. Companies may need to invest in new systems and processes to ensure compliance with these regulations. Potential benefits for companies in compliance. Compliance with these regulations can provide companies with reliable and comparable data, a common language, and informed decisions. Companies can help use these regulations as a strategic opportunity for transformation, as they can help identify material sustainability topics for stakeholders, including targets and progress, and report in line with the SFDR and EU Taxonomy regulation. Compliance with these regulations can also help direct investments towards taxonomy-aligned activities, enabling investors to identify these activities. Practical application: an investment bank under the SFDR. Consider an investment firm operating within the EU and subject to the reporting requirements of the SFDR. This firm is committed to aligning its investment practices with sustainability goals, embarking on a process that commences with the acquisition of sustainability information from the companies in which it has invested. This information is essential and falls under the CSRD, as well as adheres to the structure classification system provided by the EU Taxonomy. For our investment firm, complying with SFDR requires not only transparency and disclosure on their part, but also reliance on the EU Taxonomy metrics extracted from the CSRD reports of their invested companies. These metrics are instrumental in fulfilling their reporting obligations under SFDR, ensuring that their investments align with the EU's stringent sustainability standards. This cooperative endeavour among the investment firm, CSRD, and the EU Taxonomy not only enhances transparency and accountability within their investment portfolio, but also contributes tangibly to environmental goals, showcasing the harmonious synergy between SFDR, CSRD, and the EU Taxonomy in advancing sustainability within the financial sector. The EU Taxonomy, CSRD, and SFDR as a pivotal triad of regulations. The EU Taxonomy, CSRD, and SFDR form a pivotal triad of regulations designed to streamline and fortify sustainable investing practices. Together, they construct a coherent and efficient framework aimed at empowering investors to make more informed and responsible choices and creating a more transparent and accountable corporate environment. The EU Taxonomy serves as the foundation for sustainable activities, with CSRD and SFDR building on this through aligned disclosure requirements. CSRD focuses on comprehensive company reporting, while SFDR ensures transparency in financial markets, both using taxonomy metrics. This interconnected framework simplifies compliance and promotes sustainable investment, making it a strategic asset for companies and investors alike. In summary, the EU Taxonomy defines economic activities that can be considered environmentally sustainable. The CSRD requires companies to report on their sustainability performance against the EU Taxonomy. The SFDR requires financial market participants to disclose how their products align with the EU Taxonomy. These regulations are still in the early stages of implementation, but they have the potential to transform the way that sustainable finance is done. By providing a clear framework for measuring and reporting on sustainability, they can help investors to make more informed decisions and companies to improve their environmental performance. Today's reading was from Greenomy. Again, they have a very interesting website, not only for those looking to learn more about the EU sustainable finance regulations and how, as Adriana said in her blog, they can actually really have a transformative effect on both the finance industry in the EU as well as companies who want to increase their sustainable performance. Thanks to Adriana Casado Barral for authoring that very, very useful blog post. And for those who want to learn more about Greenomy, check out their website at greenomy.io. This has been the Impact Investing Podcast. Thanks for listening. Please consider passing on the link to your colleagues if you think they might derive value from listening to these episodes. And until the next reading.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Readings in Impact Investing, presented by Daniel Rosehill. If you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend or colleague? And consider leaving a review or rating to help spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe via readingsiниmpact.org or find the show on your favourite podcast platform. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.